Without teachers, most of us would not have been able to make it this far into our college careers. Without teachers, most of us would not be able to follow directions, read menus at restaurants, or even distinguish between right and wrong. Now imagine life without a teacher when you have two significant disabilities, such as deafness and blindness. This was Helen Keller's reality for the first 6 years of her life. With no way of communicating her emotions, she had erratic behavior and the family was desperate for help. They needed a miracle worker, and that is what they were blessed to receive. At just 20 years of age, Anne Sullivan arrived in Alabama to help teach Helen. She had studied techniques in teaching a deaf and blind student at her school to help her prepare for this role. Anne Sullivan was the definition of a teacher, a companion, and a pathfinder for the deaf and blind community. At the beginning of Anne's life, she contracted an eye disease called trachoma, which left her eyesight severely damaged. Something she would struggle with for the rest of her life, but not something that she would let hinder her drive to achieve greatness. This did not come easy. She was left alone in the Tewksbury almshouse after her mother died and her father abandoned the family. Her brother was sent to live with her, but died a few months after arriving because of the poor conditions they were living in. Sullivan was determined to receive an education once she heard that schools for the blind existed. She was then able to go to the Perkins School for the Blind in 1880 and was able to get surgery to help improve her eyesight. Anne had never been to school before and did not have the best track record with her peers and teachers. She was quick to anger and always challenging the rules. However, she was brilliant, which helped her advance in her education quickly. She was chosen to be the valedictorian of her class in 1886. In her speech, she is quoting, telling her fellow peers, "Duty bids us go forth into active life. Let us go cheerfully, hopefully, and earnestly, and set ourselves to find our special part. When we have found it, willingly and faithfully perform it, for every obstacle we overcome and every success we achieve tends to bring man closer to God." This is exactly what Anne Sullivan accomplished in her lifetime. Helen Keller was not the easiest student to teach because merely she had never been taught before and was full of angst and was also very stubborn. This could have been too much for Sullivan to handle, but instead she had an immense amount of patience and maturity with Helen, being able to rein her in. Sullivan realized she needed to isolate Helen from her family to educate her better. The first breakthrough lesson they shared was teaching Keller the meaning of water at a watering pump. During their isolated time together, Helen was able to learn 600 words, some multiplication skills, and how to read Braille just by the instructions of Anne Sullivan. Anne's alma mater, Perkins, heard of her great success and published a report of the progress, and this is what would catapult Helen into becoming a known celebrity. Sullivan believed that Perkins would be beneficial for Keller, but to help with Helen's speech, they would also have to attend White Humason School in New York City for some time. In 1900, Sullivan's vision began to deteriorate again, but she persevered to help Helen Keller attend Radcliffe College. She would spend many hours converting classroom lectures and textbooks into Helen's hand. Because of the time and emotion spent into these teachings, Helen Keller was able to be the first deaf-blind person to graduate from college. Sullivan met her husband while helping Keller write an autobiography. John A. Macy was a Harvard instructor who was helping them edit the book. They were married in 1905. However, Sullivan did not let this affect her relationship with Helen. All three lived together in Massachusetts, and the two women remained inseparable for the rest of Sullivan's life. On October 20th, 1936, Anne Sullivan died at her home in Forest Hills, New York, with her most significant accomplishment by her side. Helen would later go on missing Anne for the rest of her life. Anne Sullivan left behind vital blueprints on how to teach the deaf and blind, leaving a path to keep teaching even those who thought it would be impossible to turn into success stories. She indeed was a miracle worker.